Let's continue our conversation with Kenlon Johannes. Before we went to the break, I mentioned that there's a new biodiesel blending plant in Kansas. Tell us more about this.
Well, it's very exciting, John. The sale of biodiesel has reached the 3 billion gallon level over the past year, and there's still more opportunity to use soybean oil and other feedstocks in biodiesel. Sometimes the biggest restriction to that, and especially to using higher blends, is the availability of the product. And the soybean checkoff has long been working on that. Of course, it worked on the basic research for biodiesel. It worked on the early market development for biodiesel. And now it's also stepping up to help with the distribution of biodiesel. And that's what the event was all about last week in Garden City, where Victory Renewables has stepped up and spent some money putting in a distribution site.
What has biodiesel demand been like across the state? Because of the folks that I've talked to that have used it, they talk about its lubricity. They talk about it's good for the environment. They talk about the fact that they really like being able to use a product that is grown and renewable, but also has ties back to rural Kansas. What have you been hearing?
Well, we don't have a state-by-state usage chart that we can go to, but we do know that most all fuel, or many of the fuels sold in Kansas, probably is at the B2 to B5 level. It's not required to be labeled. The American Society of Testing Materials, ASTM, has determined anything between a 2 and 5% blend doesn't even need to be labeled. It doesn't change the characteristics of diesel enough to even do that. So there's a lot of biodiesel being used just for general usage. This site, though, is interesting because it'll have the ability, yes, to sell a blend of diesel and biodiesel at that low 2%, but it can go up to 5%, 10%, and in many cases now we're finding most of the engine manufacturers, in fact nearly all, and all the parts manufacturers and the like will allow B20 to be put into their engines, into their tanks, and then obviously running in their engines. So what's exciting about this is the retailers in that region around the Garden City area who want to use the higher blends, and the consumers will have the opportunity to use that higher blend.
Yeah, I think you make a good point here that this plant is the plant where it blends. You still have to buy it from your retailer because this is the wholesale level. So if somebody is looking for one of those blends, B10, B5, B20, do they just contact their fuel supplier and say, I know that there is a blending plant, this is what I want? How does that process get started?
That would be a good process, and then actually even at the retail outlets going up, I know some of them, some of the trucking sites, fueling sites right now have up to B15, and it's labeled at the pump as that, so you could look. I know there's some in Abilene, and I think there's soon to be some in Topeka and whatever at the Love stations. They use some higher blends automatically, and other ones are starting to get higher blends too. So look at the pump, and then if you don't have that, contact them. We've had some contact by Newton for some private retailers that would like to have the blend. So I think there was a bit of a demand that Victory Renewables saw and wanted to take this opportunity to put up both the diesel and the biodiesel at that one location, so a tanker can pull in, fill up with diesel, fill up with biodiesel, and take it on to the fueling site and have it ready for the consumer.
Well, Kenlon, I got to tell you, for those of us like you and like me who drive diesel pickups, this is exciting, and I use a lot of diesel throughout the year, so this is certainly a step in the right direction. If folks want to find out more about this, can they go to the Kansas soybean site?
Certainly can. kansassoybeans.org/biodiesel, and the National Biodiesel Board has biodiesel.org, and they can also contact us through the emails on that site, and there's a general location. The National Biodiesel Board does its best to try and keep a list of where all the retail outlets are, and we can help provide that too.
Okay, Kenlon, thanks a lot. Sure appreciate it. Always good to get caught up to you. Be sure and stick around. We've got more of the program just around the corner.